had the large garden salad at around 3:45 p.m. and I had those 2 quarter slices of one of those pepperoni non-pizzas Mom got at Wegmans the other day at around 7:30 p.m. after she cooked it. Basically putting it in the oven. And today in particular, I think I did this in the mid to late afternoon of between 2 and 4 p.m. But I went to the styrofoam drawings that were already out in bins on the shelving units, and I sorted them out by general categories, such as ordinary people and fictional characters, essentially. And though there was already a bin with just those little square styrofoam drawings, such as the one with those 2 suns for eyes with a plant in front, and that female reptile drawing. In my mind, I made that sorted definition more definite. I went to my room. Mom gave me a clear bin that was found in my sister's room, her former room, and put it in my room so I could sort through some styrofoam drawings that were already in other bins, sort through them and take out any styrofoam drawings I felt like bringing with me to the Emerging Artists Expo, and putting them into that new bin so I could bring that bin down. So we could have more of an idea of all the styrofoam drawings we'll be bringing before we start sorting definitively. We're not 100% set on what kind of tape we want to write on using a black Sharpie marker. And most likely it's going to be masking tape, although Mom couldn't find masking tape right away. At which point she suggested that blue painter's tape, although I don't think that kind of tape would be the best, since black marker on blue tape wouldn't be very visible compared to how visible it would be on more beige colored masking tape. Although during the afternoon to evening hours, Mom searched through our garage, and I think our basement too, and found a whole bunch of bags to put purchased styrofoam drawings into. And Mom also found some fabrics, these in particular, that may be used as a tablecloth for that little fold-out table that stands on wheeled legs. That way, marker won't bleed out onto the table that we bought at Michael's a while back. I'm still not entirely sure on what the pricing should be, though Dad at one point told me I could get away with a higher price since there'll be a lot of people at the Cornhill Arts Festival. I could charge $30 for the usual sized pieces, and then bump it up by $5 or so if it's a piece with a lot of detail, such as the Lady Mechanica drawing, or that drawing of a Hispanic person with that t-shirt with a cobra looming over a city, that image on it. I did a bit of work on that newish Starfilm drawing, of which I intend to draw a dark-skinned man with a beach landscape polo shirt. Then I might do some jeans. And then I did some work on the 99 Dan Hamming episode. And primarily on the last raw video file and then the first raw video file. And by first and last, I mean in terms of when it'll appear within the episode itself. The first raw video file by date is actually one of the newest. Actually, it's the very newest, but it'll appear first in the timeline. Yeah, I might already have this one. Yeah, I should have fed this oval building a lot sooner. For the last video in the timeline, the last raw video in the timeline, I took, for one of the daydream sequences involving the witness, I replaced the gun being pointed with Vion's default pistol prop. Then I took the Hispanic female of the trio character model and made her skin darker. That way, instead of being a fear of one of the trio smoking the witness, it'll be more like anyone on the streets could smoke the witness. I'm thinking that way it's more realistic. And as for the first raw video file, first to appear in the timeline, the most significant thing I did after I woke up from falling asleep, I think from 7 to 10, p.m. was ultimately to replace one of the light-skinned males of the trio's lines from "our friend is returning with much food" to "he's returning with much food," primarily to avoid redundancy, since there's already a line in which a little earlier in which he says "our friend." I'm going to keep that one intact. And I replaced it with "he's returning with much food" instead of "a lot of food," because much food is shorter. And I think, at least to their friends, people talk more informally than, say, more like for a business presentation. So informality is acceptable in this case, and it makes it shorter. I think in the past I've tended to have a habit of making the dialogue I write a bit verbose, and I'm trying to cut down on that for characters other than Dan Hamming. Since I don't think people typically speak verbosely. At least that's the way I see it. And the thing is, when I opened up Rapper Offline to try and make the "he's returning with much food" line using the designer Dave text-to-speech voice, since that's the voice I use for the light-skinned male of the trio, it didn't work. I got an error saying unable to retrieve MP3 stream. So I instead had to open up BlueStacks 5 and use that Android emulator to go to the VoiceForge app and record that line there. Thing is, because it's a different method, I suspect that it ultimately makes the speech sound a little different, maybe a little more muffled, compared to recording it through Rapper Offline. Regardless, for both methods, I used the streaming audio recorder to record the actual audio. It's just a different medium, and I suspect it's a bit more muffled. At least it seems that way if I do it through BlueStacks 5. Since the Android emulator seems to be pretty sluggish when it's on my laptop. I'm hoping that updating to the latest version of Wrapper Offline will ultimately fix this and allow the designer Dave voice to work on there. And then I'll replace that audio file again. And then hopefully that line will sound the same as the rest of the lines I gave the light-skinned male of the trio. If I had to give my best guess, I woke up around 11, somewhere between 11:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. I think this was after staying up until 6:30 to 7 in the morning, after getting up around 2:45 in the morning, having set an alarm. In order to get up at that time. Immediately after I had that pizza, I had some of these Tostitos jalapeno chips. First having them with medium Scoville-wise chunky chili. I think by the Tostitos brand. And then I dipped a few in cheesy artichoke dip. And then lastly, I had a few more just plain. And from my recollections, I think I in total had at least a quarter of that bag of chips.